Hey YouTubers, back with another Unmasked. Here today to talk about COVID-19. Um, Looks like we're COVID-19 part two. So I know it's kind of hurting my business, has been. I know it's hurting a lot of people's business. I know a lot of people are freaking out, with the surge going on. And we're praying the deaths don't follow, even though this scares enough to kind of, I think, really hurt a lot of people's businesses. And I know a lot of people are kind of running out of money. It's been a long time. We were told we had to flatten the curve, and the game keeps changing every time. Every week it's something different. I thought at the beginning, we were told we were going to run out of hospital beds and respirators, and we're freaking out. And you know, people are talking about 2 million people are going to die, and we were told we need to stay home to flatten the curve, and a couple weeks go by, and so on and so on, and it's been a wild ride. And I know I live in Ohio, so we got Governor, or I like to call King Dewine. King Dewine is he kind of become an egomaniac through all this, and he seems to be a little obsessed with power, and he kind of came out today and dropped the hammer on us a little bit. So that's making me want to do this video because I'm all pissed off. So, I'm going to go into when we first started in March. I think this is basically when he just shut us down, shut down most of Ohio. It was, I think this is from March 18th, and I want to play this video. I got it going in. I'm not starting at the beginning because, he's talking about how great he is, and he brings his wife out and how she's going to teach us how we need to handle this, because I guess she's an expert. But we're going to skip through all of that, and we'll go ahead and start it in 13 minutes in this news conference from Wednesday, March 18th. And I just want to talk about when they started all of this, how they portrayed the virus, and we'll let King DeWine talk here.
Understand the spread of the virus. This has to be done in a very targeted, methodical way, which means deciding who is tested needs to be determined by the doctors and the scientists who are really at the front lines.
Yeah, I want to tell everybody real quick that King DeWine is a lawyer, so that's a big surprise.
It's just so very, very important. And here is the truth. With or without a test, the virus is here. It lives among us. And we must be at war with it.
He says at war with the virus. Yeah.
And we're at war with a very, very dangerous and lethal enemy.
Enemy, he says.
This virus's mission is to reproduce.
So this virus has consciousness. Of course, this virus at the beginning, it had all kinds of, it was this super duper virus that was gonna wipe us all out. But he's trying to portray this as, and this is, like I said back in March at the beginning, that we are at war with this virus. Let's keep listening here.
And for it to go from person to person, it needs our help. It cannot do its damage without us. we become the enablers. We become the ones who make it able to jump from person to person to person. We have it within our own control how fast this spreads and how widespread it spreads. We have within our hands not only our own safety, but the safety of our fellow citizens.
It's always about protecting somebody else. Let me ask y'all a question. How many? Well, I don't live in a big city, so maybe it's different in a big city. But how many people go out and you're on top of people in any ways? I I don't go out and get right on top of people. I don't. I mean, where is that at? Well, I guess if you live in a big city, but us that don't, we don't understand that. It's not like we're all coughing on each other all the time.
This enemy is dangerous, it is
Enemy,
relentless,
dangerous,
and it
relentless.
is using us. It is
It's using us, he says, using us.
using us as its host, and it is using us to survive, to multiply, to go from person to person. But we do have it within our ability.
The virus is not trying to survive to go to person to person. That's not how it works. I think, at the beginning there was a guy, I can't remember what he was on, but I watched him and he was saying that the virus made you cough so it could go to another host and multiply. I'm like, and this I can't remember the video I saw, but it had all kinds of views and likes and like the guy knew what he was talking about. And I can't imagine anybody that's had any kind of microbiology class or any kind of medical class would agree with that assessment. Um, but let's get back to King DeWine.
To fight back. When you stop moving, when you stop moving, when I stop moving, it stops moving. It can't reach someone else. So each one of us must do all we can to limit our exposure. And we must stop.
All right, that's enough of King DeWine. This is the last time I listened to this fool. I think he went on for months coming out here and talking. I know people acted like he was a hero or some crap. But I'll let you guys know what the hammer he dropped on us today. It's a nice one. But for you mass people, I'm sure you love it. There's a lot of people that's super happy and wanting to take control of the whole state. So, and to go on after this, and why I showed the DeWine video, I'm rambling on here, but why I showed it is because he's trying to portray this as like some kind of terrorist threat. I mean, there, our leadership is creating hysteria. No, we need leaders that uh, get people to stay calm. Nothing ever gets done good when you're hysteria in some kind of hysteria, and the media acts like you're crazy if you want to calm the situation down. They want all hysteria for this virus that seems to be at a 0.26 mortality rate, and half the people that's killed has been people in the nursing home, or almost half. But at that same time period, I got an article from Business Insider here, and it talks about how the catastrophic results of this virus that was going to happen. The virus they didn't know anything about, but it was going to kill us all. And let's go on to that. It's right here. Business Insider, a report that helped convince Trump to take coronavirus seriously, projected that 2.2 million people could die in the U.S. if we don't act. There's Donald Trump. I don't wasn't real happy with. I think he could have should have stuck to his guns with saying the mortality rate was going to be under 1%. But I know he was getting a lot of pressure from a lot of people, and I know King dewine was too. But man, we let the hysteria take control over us. And right here, it talks about get to it. A group suggests that 2.2 million Americans could die as a result of coronavirus pandemic, along with half a million people in the UK. The report comes to the conclusion that we might need interventions like social distancing and closing schools to last many more months than initially expected to suppress transmission of the disease. So this is the picture we saw a gazillion times right here. So we go. Let me see here. I want to show you where we got this information from. I might have passed it up, but we got this from a group. We got these projections from a group in England, and they had made a model for how the virus is going to spread. Right here it is. It's the Imperial College COVID-19 response. And that's the change in tone from Trump administration. The New York Times reports appears to have a connection to a report out of from the Imperial College COVID-19 response team. Well, let me click on them because there's a name here that I want to point out, and I don't know why in the world we're getting information from this joker, but right here, Neil Ferguson. So Neil Ferguson here, he's on this team uh, to make these models for diseases, and I think they've been doing it for a little while. So take you to Neil here, and we're gonna let me see here. Neil Ferguson. This guy, he's been projecting viruses for looks like a couple decades, and we can look back here in we'll go to 2002 here. You can see Ferguson predicted up to 50,000 people dead. People would likely die from exposure to mad cow disease in beef in the UK. There were only 177 deaths. That's in 2002. 2005, Ferguson predicted that up to 150 million people could be killed from the bird flu. 282. 282 dies. So, and that's worldwide. I want to tell you where I get this to. This is the statistical modeling, causal inference, and social science. And then we go down here to 2009. Based on Ferguson's advice, said a reasonable worst case scenario was that the swine flu would lead to 65,000 British deaths. In the end, 457. What in the world are we doing listening to this fool? He's a fool. How, who, how does he making money doing this? This is ridiculous. And this is the model that we all followed. I just, I mean, amazes me. Absolutely amazes me. So in '09, he said 65,000 deaths, 457. And this time he says 2.2 million if we don't close everything down, and 250,000 would die. And we know that's just not the case. We've done the math. There's nowhere near, and they don't even talk about this anymore, to my knowledge. Of course, I don't watch a lot of left wing media, but and this is where we are now. Let's get to the. I want to show you where the spike is, and I think most of us know that they're doing it a lot more testing everywhere, and I think probably had a little bit of spread with the riots and the protest and people getting out. But I think we're doing 6 times the testing they said. And also, well, before I go to the next page here, I want to show you where the deaths are going down. So that's a good thing. I am a little worried here though. We had a spike. I'm hoping that these were delayed because we had a big drop off yesterday, and hopefully it's a delay from July 4th, and we come back down to lower numbers tomorrow. If not, people's going to be freaking out. It's going to be all over. I'm dreading waiting for that number. I always check at midnight to see where we're at. I'm worried they're going to shut the whole economy down, and then I think we're just tanked. I don't know. I just can't see how a lot of people is going to survive. So that's where we are. Come up here and look at the deaths. We got 30 million coronavirus cases and 133,000 deaths, and they're saying at least 10 times of this. So 30, I'd say more like 50 million Americans have been in contact with it. Uh, a lot of the deaths are, we all know, due from horrible mandates by 5 certain governors, and we'll discuss that in another video. And some other bad things that happened, like in my state, uh, they shut the government down, so they didn't have any nursing home advocates to go to any of these nursing homes when they were getting calls from family members that were worried and maybe suggesting that things weren't being handled correctly at some of these nursing homes, and just did a terrible job. They're keeping COVID positives at nursing homes. I mean, they should have been separated. I don't know what you do. You make a whole hospital for it. You had empty schools, but I think a lot more deaths in nursing homes happened all over the country, and especially New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, California, and Michigan. We know what their governors did. I don't see how, you can continue to lead your state after making a decision like that. I just don't understand it. Hopefully, they'll get investigated, or they are getting investigated, and hopefully something comes from that, because that's absolutely ridiculous. And then I want to talk about, we talk about there's a lot more testing, but there's also something else going on in some of these states, and this is in Texas. It is Collin County, Texas, and this is from, I think, around May May 18th, and they're discussing how they're counting coronavirus cases now, because at the beginning they was counting coronavirus cases just based on who's tested positive when they had a positive test. But at some time, it looks like maybe some of these states started counting a little differently. So let's go to this news channel in Texas.
Collin County leaders are worried about the impact of new state standards that define COVID-19 cases. Those new standards include more than a dozen possible ways to be counted as a COVID-19 patient without ever taking a lab test. JD Miles breaks it all down for us.
Now, this was on local news. Let me see. I think it was a month ago. And why isn't this all over the place? Just shows you the priority of creating this hysteria to just destroy the economy. I mean, we got to just keep speaking out against Marxism, because this is going to be the end, and we need a better future.
So the probable cases could be highly overstated.
Collin County commissioners were briefed this week on the state's new.
I'm going to play that back. I got to rambling on, but listen to this guy.
For us.
So the probable cases could be highly overstated.
The probable cases could be highly overstated.
Collin County commissioners were briefed this week on the state's new criteria for counting COVID-19 cases in Texas, and were left scratching their heads.
I think it's a bad thing because you're switching your data collection methodology really late in the game.
Commissioner Darrell Hale says the new standard for a COVID-19 patient now includes more than a dozen combination of broad factors that don't require a positive lab test. Factors which he believes could inflate the numbers.
I don't want there to be any fear manifesting as we start to open back up.
Up until now, a positive lab test counted as a positive case. According to the new criteria, anyone who had close contact with a confirmed COVID-19 patient and has 2 symptoms can be considered a probable COVID-19 case.
So, if you go in, test positive for COVID, they're going to ask you how many people you've come into contact with, and those are COVID cases being counted as well. And this is in Texas. How many states are doing this? That's why I think that this death spike that we had today is just a late count from 4th of July weekend. I think that just this new way of counting that some of these states are is giving the spike, and I think they should have been counting that way from the beginning, because I think that's how they figure out the flu every year. They don't go by everybody they tested in the flu. There's an estimate. Anything to keep the mortality rate, to keep everybody in a panic.
If you reside in Texas and you have 2 minor symptoms, you could actually have a COVID probable case definition assigned to you, and then you're supposed to stay in your house for 14.
So if you got 2 symptoms, you could be a probable case, and you're getting counted. 2 symptoms.
14 days and be quarantined.
Collin County leaders say expanding the number of COVID-19 cases without lab results will require a lot more patient monitoring and contact tracing. Now, contact tracing and monitoring will include probable cases, such as family members.
Contact tracing will include people that you have been in contact that aren't getting tested. So I think that's probably a lot of the spike that we're seeing. I really do. As more people have gotten out and people are going on vacation, if they got COVID, they're going to say they're around a lot more people. So I just feel like that's a spike because some of these states have been open for a while and we didn't see a spike for stuff. And I got a video to talk about kids spreading it here in a minute. I want to show you. Actually, I'm going to show you that. Then I'll show you Senator Jensen after that. Let him talk. He's a guy that's getting punished for speaking the truth. And let's see. Let's go to. Well, first I'm going to show you something from the CDC. And let's get this up here. So, what is probable case of COVID-19? And at the all right, I gotta have myself in the video there. That was not what I intended. Probable case of COVID-19 make up only a small fraction of currently reported cases, but the CDC wants states to do a better job reporting them. So, what are they and why do they matter? We took a closer look to help reporters and members of the public better understand this complex COVID-19 metric. So, we got, since the beginning, this has reported 2.1 million cases, and at COVID Tracking Project, our cases metric currently includes both lab confirmed and probable cases in a single figure. But we've been internally tracking probable cases separately for states that published them. We suspect that some of the states publish a case count that lumps probable and lab confirmed cases, but this has been difficult to verify. Our data team is re-engineering our API and spreadsheets to include probable case metrics where we have them. However, until all states publish and clearly label probable and lab confirmed cases or verify that their case data counts only lab confirmed cases, our case count will necessarily mix the two kinds of cases. And this is from the CDC. And, I think if you go through here, they talk about like 24 of the states. Right here it is. The Center of Disease Control and Prevention recommend that states separate their data into lab confirmed and probable cases. According to the CDC COVID data tracker, only 24 states take the agency's advice, along with 4 territories. We hope that all states and territories eventually provide both metrics. So, this has been going on. It looks like I watched that whole city commissioner hearing on the COVID-19 in Collin County, Texas, and they started doing that, I think, around May 18th. So we got into June, and more people are vacationing and getting out, and especially now, a lot more states are opening, and I really think that's a spike. And the next worry is kids going back to school. So I don't know if you got to see Rand Paul talk to Dr. Fauci. I'm gonna play that real quick, and Dr. Fauci is doesn't seem to want us to open back up. And here's Rand Paul talking about what's going on with schools, and Dr. Fauci giving advice on what needs to happen. I'll let play
Fatal
this here.
conceit is the concept that central planning with decision-making concentrated in a few hands.
If you haven't heard Rand Paul before, he's always got a play on words, and I think he knows the Constitution pretty well because he always seems to refer back to that and what the founding fathers meant, and he's definitely a lot different than most of the people in Washington, D.C.
Can never fully grasp the millions of complex individual interactions occurring simultaneously in the marketplace. It is a fatal conceit to believe any one person or small group of people has the knowledge necessary to direct an economy or dictate public health behavior. I think government health experts during this pandemic need to show caution in their prognostications. It's important to realize that if society meekly submits to an expert, and that expert is wrong, a great deal of harm may occur.
And plus, the expert is talking about a vast country with 50 different states and different territories and different cities and with different size of population. And you can't just, throw it lump everybody in one sum, and he just spread so much panic across everywhere, and so do the media. And I really think Fauci is a part of the globalist movement, and I think the WHO and the CDC I will never trust again.
When we allow one man's policy or one group of small men and women to be foisted on an entire nation. Take, for example, government experts who continue to call for schools and daycare to stay closed, or that recommend restrictions that make it impossible for a school to function. For a time, there may not have been enough information about coronavirus in children.
But there is now, because Rand Paul is going to drop the facts on Fauci, and I'm sure Dr. Fauci already knew these facts, but now we can let the whole world see this.
There are examples from all across the United States and the world that show that young children rarely spread the virus. Let's start in Europe. 22 countries have reopened their schools and have seen no discernible increases in cases. These graphs behind me show no surge when schools open. The red line is where the schools opened. There is data from Austria, Belgium, Denmark, France, Germany, Netherlands. No spike when schools are opened. Contact tracing studies in China, Iceland, Britain, and the Netherlands failed to find.
They don't care because they're going to say, well, you'll get the kids will give it to somebody else. They're not even going to hear that they're not spreading it. Well, the teachers will get it and they'll give it to somebody else. You don't care that somebody's going to die. We're so tired of hearing of that, man. You don't care if elderly people are going to die anyways. If you did, you would complain about the governors killing elderly people, and don't say a word about that. And we're keeping the kids at home for no reason.
Find a single case of child to adult infection. Here at home, child care for essential workers continued to be available in some states throughout the pandemic. Brown University researchers collected data on daycares that remained open during the pandemic. Over 25,000 kids in their study found that only 0.16% got COVID. And when you looked at the confirmed cases for staff, there was about 1% of more than 9,000 staff.
Wow.
The YMCA also has put forward statistics. 40,000 kids.
Of course, that'd be like 900 staff members got it, and then all the Karens will be freaking out and wanting to call on us for not wearing masks.
At 1,100 sites, there were no reports of coronavirus outbreaks or clusters. Dr. Joshua Sharfstein of Johns Hopkins writes, there is converging evidence that the coronavirus doesn't transmit among children like the flu, that it is a lower risk.
But my
Just yesterday, the
emotions,
American Academy of
that means more than
Pediatrics
these
says we got
facts.
to get kids back in school. We want them physically present in school. They even cite mounting evidence that children are less likely to contract the virus. Ultimately, this all comes down to the fatal conceit that central planners have enough knowledge somehow to tell a nation of 330 million people what they can and can't do.
They don't.
Perhaps our planners might think twice before they weigh in on every subject.
No, they love the
Perhaps our
power.
government experts
You know they
might
do.
hold their tongue
You know
before
they do,
expressing the
Rand.
opinion whether we
They
can play
love that
NFL
power.
football or Major League Baseball.
Well, let's go on to Rand Paul's proving his point. He's driving the nail in the coffin. And let's hear Dr. Fraudchi give us a response of, telling us that he is not an expert and laughing at us.
I'll give you a little that
To
was
answer
well
that.
over 5 minutes, but we'll
Thank you,
go
Senator.
ahead and
Nice stalling.
please answer the question.
Yeah, so very quickly, Senator Paul, I agree with a lot of what you say about, this idea about people having to put their opinions out without data. And sometimes you have to make extrapolations because you're in a position where you need to at least give some sort of recommendation.
Yeah, you could give those recommendations, but when other people try to go on social media or give their advice, they get censored. They're getting censored. And these are other credible doctors that are telling us that they're doing things that's working and telling us not to panic. And they're getting censored on Twitter and Facebook and YouTube. And, but we got to listen to this central planner who's acting like, we don't have to listen to him.
But if you were listening, and I think you were, to my opening statement and my response to one of the questions, I feel very strongly we need to do whatever we can to get the children back to school. So I think we are in lock agreement with that.
Whatever.
The other thing that I'd like to clarify very briefly is that when things get in the press of what I supposedly said, I didn't say. I never said we can't play a certain sport. What happens
Now he's
is
talking
that
about
people
sports.
in the sport industry,
Rand Paul was trying to make a point that I fast forward through, and he was calling Fraudchi out for saying we shouldn't play baseball, and now he wants to divert the main topic, the main question here of going back to school, and
they could either be
give us
people
this
from
BS.
Players Association, owners, people involved in
We don't
the
care
health
about
of the
them
players,
sports. We ain't
ask
watching that
me
crap
opinions
anyways.
regarding certain facts
They
about
love
the spread
China.
of the virus,
They
what the
love
dynamics
money.
are.
They don't
I
love
give
us.
it, and
They
then
don't
it gets
love an
interpreted
American.
that I'm saying you can't play this sport or you can't play that sport. I agree with you.
You
I
need
am
to you need to just stay off the TV and shut your mouth from here on out. Nobody should be listening to Dr. Fraudchi. He's done. Nail in the coffin. You and King dewine, you guys are done. Nobody cares anymore. But I guess I do care because dewine is dropping hammers on us here in Ohio. And let me get to this is Scott Jensen here, Senator Scott Jensen of Minnesota, and Scott Jensen. He is getting investigated by the state of Minnesota for. I'm gonna let you listen to him talk about this if you don't know this man, but look him up and follow him on social media and give him some support.
Scott Jensen. I represent Carver County. This is one of the most important videos I've made, and one of the hardest. Frankly, it's been a very difficult decision to make whether I even wanted to do it. Less than a week ago, I was notified by the Board of Medical Practice in Minnesota that I was being investigated because of public statements I'd made. They listed 2 allegations. They said I've been spreading misinformation in regards to the completion of death certificates on a news program, which happened to take place on April 7th. And you could find that one. It was with Chris Berg if you wanted to.
And I don't know how much he's going to explain this here, but he had come out, he's going to explain it a little bit, but he'd come out saying that the state was trying to push him to make probable COVID's deaths, like if they had a certain symptom or, that went along with COVID, even if they weren't tested, that it was going to be put down as a COVID death. And he decided to bring it to the public.
And the other allegation was that I provided reckless advice in my willingness to compare COVID-19 and the flu.
They're comparable.
When I got this letter, I was ticked. And quite frankly, I leaned into the comfort and wisdom of my family to help them, let them talk me off the cliff. But doggone it, if this can happen to me, my view is it could happen to anybody. I mean, I've been a family doc for 40 years. I work hard. I love my patients. I do house calls. I've been medical director. I've held staff positions in hospitals to help make things work better. I've been in the Senate for 4 years and I've learned a lot. I've never had anything like this happen. Shoot 'em out. 5 years ago, I was named the Minnesota Family Doctor of the Year in Minnesota. And I get this because a couple people complained, and I don't get to know who those people are. I don't know if they're routinely in a political camp, if they're activists. I've gone online and looked at what it takes to complete a complaint that the Board of Medical Practice has to follow up on. It's a one-page deal. You can say what you want. You could be a huge donor for the other party, and I wouldn't get to know it. I wouldn't get to know if you live in my district. I don't get to know it.
So this guy's a medical doctor, like he said, and he's being investigated, and the people that want him investigated, he don't know who it is. They don't even have to live in his state, don't have to know him, could be a part of a different political party because Dr. Jensen here is a senator in Minnesota. So this is just unbelievable.
Anything. I checked. So here I am. I've spent the better part of the last 6 days preparing a response. I understand how important the work is that the Board of Medical Practice does. I mean, physicians do screw up. 2 of the big areas where physicians mess up is inappropriate sexual behavior, inappropriate self-medicating, certainly with opiates. But this is an odd position for me to be in, and I am just stunned. But I should have seen it coming, because I saw the threats on social media. I've seen them for the last 2 or 3 months. I've seen them come from physicians. I've seen them come from people in all walk of life. They didn't agree with me. They didn't like it, that I was trying to provide some context for the flu, for COVID-19.
Because they polarized this, made it political. That's all this is. Wearing the mask is political. Everything is political. It's Democrat versus right-wing people. And, I'm not sure every Democrat is in on this, but this progressive leftist movement, I mean, they just want to get rid of us. Anybody that's not in that collective's mind state of big government, they want to get rid of us, and that's what's going on here. It's just political. They're trying to regain power or keep power, and there's been a spoke in the bicycle, and they're trying to fix it and censor doctors that know what they're talking about.
We've had some 35, 40,000 cases of COVID-19 in Minnesota thus far. According to the Department of Health people, that might translate into 10 times that many. And if it does translate it 10 times, I mean, that's 350,000 cases. But in 2018, we had more than 500,000 Minnesotans with the flu. When I say that, am I recklessly giving you advice regarding COVID-19 and the flu?
Nope. In Minnesota, it seems like just like a flu, just like a flu, and I'm not for sure why that gets you in trouble or censored. You know, it doesn't go with their doesn't go with the direction that they want this country going in. You know, it's not part of the Marxist movement. It's get rid of individual thought, censor everything. I mean, this has been the craziest year I've ever seen. And I get to talk to a lot of older people, and they feel the same way. I mean, they've never seen anything like this. Anything. Especially the sane ones that, you know, see what's going on. The ones that are in the hysteria, they're just so wrapped up in TDS. I mean, let's just say what it is. What it is. It's TDS, and people got it bad.
Dr. Anthony Fauci has come out and compared them all the time. Dr. Mike Osterholm has. In terms of the death certificates, on April 3rd, I got an email from the Department of Health that said very clearly that we should report COVID-19 on death certificates if it is assumed to have caused or contributed. Well, that's not how we do death certificates. The official.
If it's assumed to be on there, and I think if any of you guys have dug at all, and if you haven't, do your research. These hospitals get more money for COVID patients, so there's an incentive to write down COVID-19.
Official ICD-10 coding for April 1st, 2020 through September 30th, 2020, during the time frame in question, says this: if the provider documents suspected, possible, probable, or inconclusive COVID-19, do not assign U07.1, which is COVID-19 disease. It says assign a code explaining the reason for the encounter, such as fever or a cough or shortness of breath.
So if it's inconclusive, we're marking it down as COVID-19, and then write down some symptom that goes with it.
That's what the official instructions say. So I get this on April 3rd. I end up inadvertently, sort of accidentally, running it up the flagpole with Chris Berg on April 7th. And what happens? The Department of Health, a few days later, comes out with a clarification. And then a few weeks later, they come out with another clarification. And I appreciate it. Fact of the matter is, I'm proud of the Department of Health in Minnesota for saying we are not going to list non-confirmed cases as deaths in Minnesota. We are going to put an asterisk.
So this doctor right here decided to do the ethical thing and come out, and looks like he stopped Minnesota from being able to, for at least part of the time here, not count probables as COVID. So that's pretty big. I wish a lot more doctors would have really fought hard, because I know this is not the only state this is going on in. I mean, you know, I'm doing this video. Hopefully, people will see some of this stuff and start realizing we need to calm down and open the economy back up. But you know, this just amazes me. And this guy right here, you know, is being investigated.
And we'll follow up on those later. But that's not what Pennsylvania was doing. That's why they had to subtract 200 patients from their COVID-19 death count. Colorado did the same thing. New York went the other direction. New York said, we're having more deaths in a certain period than we normally have, so those deaths must be COVID-19. We just didn't pick them up. So never mind the testing. We're adding 30.
Who's shocked that Cuomo the murderer is doing stuff like that? I mean, this Cuomo guy, just I don't know how he's still the governor. I just don't know how you could uh, deliberately kill people in a nursing home like he did, and he's still on TV cracking jokes. Just amazes me. And he's got to be the one of the worst governors in the United States. I hope they vote him out. I doubt they will. I doubt they'll vote a Republican in, but I feel bad for New Yorkers. They kind of do it to themselves. So I've gone into that that progressive leftist state of high taxation, lots of regulation, and now they have less cops and more crime, and people are going to be flooding New York. But when you leave New York, leave those politics there. Don't bring them to the state you moved to. So he's here's this doctor and many other doctors through all this. I've seen video after video, and these people are getting kicked off of social media, and they're talking about using certain medications that's helping. Talking about the virus is not as deadly as the WHO and the CDC and the media was pumping down our throat. That 3%, that 2 million going to die. So anybody talking like that, they're getting censored. If it's not the truth, why would you even censor it? Just prove it's not true. When the people are censoring stuff, I figure on there's some truth to it. I mean, it's history rewriting itself over and over again. And then we move on to we all remember hydro. Well, it's still going on, especially now, but hydroxychloroquine. Sorry, hydroxychloroquine. Donald Trump praised it early on, and man, the media just ran with that and destroyed him. Acted like he was an idiot, and a couple doctors did come out. I think they got pretty well booted off social media too, talking about how hydroxychloroquine, I'm going to get it right, hydroxychloroquine is not harmful, and people's been taking it for years, and the media is trying to portray it as having horrible side effects and fraud cheese telling people not to take it, and it's not FDA approved, and like the FDA hasn't been crooked for years. So we go to this Politico news talking. Let's see when this was here. I know it was. Yeah. This was back in May here, and Trump's trying to talk about people. Other doctors were praising this drug and saying they were seeing good results for it. And I know there was a lady doctor in Texas who was treating people at her office. I think she had treated 30 some, and everybody had survived. And she said she was given hydroxychloroquine to people, and they were, getting better drastically. Well, here we go with Politico, and talking about crazy thing to do. Health experts alarmed by Trump's use of unproven drug. So, but they don't want to mention that people were, using this drug in other countries and having good results. And you go through here, you can read this. I can even imagine. I think you can imagine. They're picking him apart. Trump stupid, Orange Man bad, racist, sexist, all that stuff. So that's Politico. Well, here we got a new study out, and I don't know if y'all have seen this, but whole different tune for hydroxychloroquine. I keep messing it up, but I haven't had COVID and haven't needed to take this, so let's transition over to this video. And this is Tucker Carlson talking to Dr. Mark Siegel. And Mark Siegel is going to tell us about a new study out on hydroxychloroquine. I got it right.
Well, researchers at the Henry Ford Health System have released a new major study of hydroxychloroquine. They found that the drug's early use against coronavirus may cut the death rate in half. Amazing. Fox Medical contributor Dr. Mark Siegel joins us tonight to discuss this. Doctor, thanks so much for coming on. This is something we've talked about many times. We've heard about the horrors of hydroxychloroquine from the media. What do you make of this study?
This is a groundbreaking study, Tucker. I spoke to Dr. Steve Kalkanis, who is the chief academic officer at Henry Ford Health Systems, and he said, as you pointed out, that it cuts the death rate from COVID-19 in half in the 2,500 patients they studied. And they have another study coming up, 3,000 healthcare workers, to see if it can be used as a preventive. This is very big news, and it's a very big step in the right direction. Now, I also spoke to Congressman Michael Burgess of Texas today, who's the Republican leader of the House, as you know, subcommittee on health. And he said he's been getting calls from all over the country. Why isn't hydroxychloroquine available for frontline use at a time when the COVID outbreak pandemic is increasing in Texas? And of course, the answer.
You know, it's almost like they wanted more deaths through all of this. You know, with the nursing homes, them keeping medication that helps people away from us, censoring doctors. You know, I think they were, and in New York, I don't know if you guys know this, but I think 20% of the deaths there are probables. You know, people that were not tested, or as we saw the video with the Senator Scott Jensen, that they had an influx in deaths, and they just counted those as COVID. And if you dig a little deeper, you know, a lot of people in New York were scared to go to the hospital, so a lot of the heart attack deaths were happening at home. And I think a lot of those were probably counted as well. When they first figured this out, you know, they weren't having any cardiac arrest patients come into the hospital, and they dug a little deeper, and those people were dying at home, and the EMT was getting to them, and then went straight to the coroner or whatever the process is, and they're not going to the hospital. So, you know, they have an influx in deaths, and I'd say a lot of those people, if they went to the hospital, if they weren't scared, you're going to have some survivors there. So who really knows what's going on in New York? They're lying about how many deaths from nursing home patients. We know it's not a quarter. You know, in Ohio, it's 70%. And with Cuomo sending 4,300 patients back to nursing homes, you know, if you don't know about that, read about that. You know, it's even, you can find a few articles on it. The mainstream media is sure not going to talk about it much or at all. I don't know I think Tucker Carlson brought it up. I don't really watch a whole lot of Fox. I watch a lot of YouTube videos and try to see people that are giving some news that aren't making a bunch of money, that are just trying to shed light on the situation because they believe in liberty. So let's see what else Mark Siegel says.
The answer he gave is politics. And Tucker, as you know, the pandemic is increasing in Texas. And of course, the answer he gave is politics. And Tucker, as you know, I had a cardiologist prescribed it to my father, and he apparently got dramatically better. And I've given it to many patients in March and April.
So they're needing some hydroxychloroquine in Texas and they can't get it because of politics.
April, who got better due to hydroxychloroquine likely. So why has the emergency use authorization been reversed on it? This study may change all of that, Tucker. There's a lot of pressure on the FDA tonight to reverse that, the emergency use authorization.
I don't know that they will. I was reading other media, and they're still trying to shut down that hydroxychloroquine works. I read several left-wing media outlets that they don't want to give any credit to the new study. And with all that, we got some medication that works. We know the mortality rate isn't what it is. We got to do a better job at nursing homes. When we first started this, we knew that there was going to be deaths. They told us that eventually we all was going to get it. We had to flatten the curve. I just don't know where we're going here. We flattened the curve, and now, at what point are we going to just focus on herd immunity? Because we're not going to fill the hospitals. We didn't come anywhere close to that. It's not going to happen. And the news is trying to pump ICU beds. We got plenty of space for people, and just get them the medication. These doctors all over the world are finding things that worked. Let's do that, and instead of going in reverse. And here's the reverse part, because King DeWine decides that he's going to drop the hammer on us. And I'm not real happy with King DeWine. 7 counties in Ohio is in level 3 emergency, whatever that means. We got all these new COVID patients, but through this video we've discussed where this influx is. There is a lot more testing. They had testing in my town here all day. You stop, get tested for free. Had a special thing set up. I've heard you can go to the urgent care, get tested, I think for free. A lot of people are getting tested. We're doing the contact tracing, so we're counting probables. DeWine, who, like I said earlier in the video, kept people from going and investigating some of these early on, the advocates to the nursing home residents. And I just don't see why we would ever keep COVID positives when we knew it was killing people in nursing homes at the nursing home. When they're testing for it, why aren't we removing them from that facility? I just don't get it. And I've had lots of people, argue with me on that. Even people in the medical field think I'm wrong. Especially when they got all the kids out of school. I mean, we got 3,000 empty buildings. Just makes me wonder that they're just trying to get rid of some of these people in the nursing home, because it costs a lot of money to keep people at nursing homes. Most of those people don't have any money left, so it's the government paying for them, and we're looking at the government that doesn't, that helps pay for abortions, or was in the past, and I just don't see them caring about people in the nursing home. They don't care about babies. They don't care about people in the nursing home, and all these virtual signalers. They don't care either. They just have turned this into a Democrat-Republican thing. And, people without masks are dumb and uneducated. And, maybe we've done a research and don't watch CNN 24/7 or MSNBC, or I don't even watch Fox News. Tucker Carlson's the only one I can really handle. The rest of them, I think they fell in this whole virus trap too. But that this hysteria that sells. You got everybody trapped at home. You have to watch TV. Viewership's up. Fox is killing it right now, especially Tucker Carlson. So, but I think people are mad about other things. But here's my Governor Mike DeWine, orders that masks be worn in 7 counties. Now, what gives Governor Mike DeWine the power to order this? To order children. We just watched this video with Rand Paul talking about they're not transmitting this. Why does my child have to wear a mask? He hasn't worn a mask this whole time. We flattened the curb. We didn't wear a mask to that whole thing. That we wasn't told to wear a mask till afterwards. So by Fauci told us not to wear a mask. Then now in 7 counties in Ohio, and I want to point out where these areas are. You got Cincinnati, Dayton, maybe a place they was protesting and a little bit of rioting. Then you got Columbus, where there's, I think, still protesting and tearing down the statue of Christopher Columbus. And the mayor said they tore it down because of he represents the patriarchy. And it kills me reading in that, and also knowing that when you go to the BLM webpage, they're trying to tear down the patriarchy too. So we're all bending our knees down to the Marxist. And we get up here, Cleveland, rioting, protesting. So those are all the places that we have the influx. But if you go look at the mainstream media, and they said none of that would have caused anything because more people stayed home, I think I read. So they felt like the virus didn't spread as much. It just cracks me up. And I'm imagining some of these people testing when they're going to the doctor, they're asking them how many people they was around. And if we're in Ohio, doing the contact tracing, which I don't know. I don't know which states are and which ones aren't. Who knows? There's been so much information kept from us through this whole COVID. And we're back around round 2. And I think we need to put an end to this. Let's try to inform as many people as possible, even when they don't want to hear it. I've argued with people over the medium age of death in Ohio. I mean, people act like I'm a conspiracy theorist when I tell them what it is, and that 70% of the people died in the nursing home. They don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear it. They've been told something else. I don't know where. And but I'm going to keep arguing because they're destroying the country. And I know it might be rough for some older folks, but we cannot quarantine ourselves or stay home or not keep this economy going because we have to pay into the system. That's your Social Security, that's your medical when you get older. If you go to a nursing home and they take everything and you're out of money, well, people have to be working and paying taxes so we can pay for that stuff. So you got to think about that. And more importantly, you have to think about the kids. I mean, we've put our kids in this terrible situation now and put the future of the country in a terrible situation. We're running up debt. People are staying home now because they make more money on unemployment and teaching their children to not work. Let's not do that. Go back to work. Tell people that you've had enough. Inform as many people as you can on what this mortality rate is and that what's happened in the nursing homes, and to talk to their politicians and do a better job with protecting the elderly and not trying to control everybody else's lives. These kids got to go back to school. They got to go back to playing sports, doing their dance, chess team, band, whatever. They need to go socialize, and that we need human contact. And wearing a mask, how I feel about wearing masks is almost about how I feel about getting on my knee. And I think masks are for people that you want to control. And even in the very beginning, we've talked about herd immunity. Well, why has the game changed? Why are we delaying that? Take better care of the nursing home. And for all you Karens and snitches out there, if you're that concerned, go help an elderly person. Get them out of the nursing home. If it gets in there, it's over. It's over with. There's a lot of people that's going to catch it in there, and go get one. Bring them to your house. Lysol it up. Protect them. Put your money where your mouth is. And we know you're not going to do that. So, quit with this snob. I'm better than you because I care about people's lives because I posted on Twitter. You don't care about nothing, or because you yelled at somebody that didn't have a mask on, and you all of a sudden care about people's lives. I mean, nobody's fooled by that anymore. The PC culture and the council culture is dying, and the silent majority is rising. They keep saying it isn't, but it is. And I'm gonna end that right here. And hopefully we can get enough people talking about stuff like this. We got to get lots of videos on COVID. We got to get the economy back going. People got to be working. We got to get our kids back. And I can't stress this enough. We got to keep fighting here, man. Cases are going to go up and down, and we got to stop looking at every single number. Turn the news off, find different places, and try to inform as many people as you can here. We got to keep capitalism and the republic going for our children. It's important to me to see the next generation to be able to enjoy what this country is all about. And if you liked my video, give me a like. If you didn't, throw me the dislike. But leave a comment, give me a subscription. We got a lot more videos coming up. My partner Ryan should be here tomorrow, and we're going to tape a couple videos. One on exposing BLM for what it is, the organization. And also, we're going to talk about our buddy Smollett Jr., Bubba Smollett. Ryan wants to talk about that because there's been a lot of misinformation on the other side with what happened at Talladega, I think. I don't really watch NASCAR. Definitely ain't watching it now. But you all have a good night, and we'll see you in a couple of days. Thanks for watching.